DT Law, and I was licensed in 1991. So I've been doing this for 27 years. My wife Suzanne, some of y'all met her 2 weeks ago, and she came and tried to be a lawyer for the president.
She did a great job.
Great job.
Yes.
And I have 3 children, all over 18. Tripp's my youngest. Evelyn, my daughter, she's a flight attendant at American Airlines, graduated from college last year. And Max, and he has 4 children, all under the ages of 5. 3 boys, they're their names at the bottom. And Fields, who was just born 2 weeks ago, my first granddaughter, and my daughter-in-law Austin. And I guess you're going to get a sappy little, yeah, my wife did all those. So there's my daughter at the top. She did make it in a lot of photos because she's always offline somewhere. And then there's the rest of us at the bottom, including my daughter-in-law. And there's my granddaughter. One of the grandchildren is missing. He's taking a nap. And then in the middle at the top, that's my youngest. He played football the last 2 years at the D2 level at Quincy University. And now he's playing at the D1 AA level at UT Martin. And he's like, it's a big step up. He's calling me every day like, woo, D1's different from D2. But we used to go up there and see him. And then my oldest played football at the University of Richmond. And but now he's 31 and has 4 kids and does all that. So there we are. Small law firm, big service. What you get for that is we all collaborate on every case. Every case in the office I know about. Every case in the office my partner Neil Perryman knows about. I have another partner, my father, who's older, and he probably doesn't know about all the cases, but he keeps track of everything too. But you don't get the associate of the day like you do with a bigger firm. You get me watching over your case. I mean, we may use associates to do some of the things that they can do, but we do make sure that you're covered. So we also handle multiple areas. I think I've said this before, but I just had a trial in the intellectual property area. I've got a criminal trial next month, jury trial. I've got a medical malpractice trial in October. I've got another criminal case going to trial in December. In January, I've got a business divorce case, basically, you want to call that. And then last week, I had an argument for the Sixth Circuit in a business-oriented case. So I do handle a lot of different areas, and the reason for that is there's just not a lot of lawyers that try lawsuits anymore, especially in the civil arena. In the criminal arena, a lot of cases get tried still because they can't, they have to, because there's so many in this area. But in the civil arena, there's just not a lot of lawyers that are good at trying lawsuits. So a lot of lawyers that will take a case and then come to me. So I guess a tier 3 is I have a lot of lawyers that refer me business if they need to go to trial. So that's what we do. Also, we have lower overhead. Doing some of these big firms now and have all this, how do they pay for all this? So it's expensive the way they do it, and we have to keep things going. Now, in this group, I think many of you or most of you will be interested in the legal needs of small and medium-sized businesses. We handle that too. I mean, other than taking a company public, I've done just about everything that a small business needs. It also helps. I remember an orthopedic surgeon used to tell me he can prescribe medicine and save your life in surgery if you need to. So why do people spend so much time with medicine doctors? That's not to put down internists and the other types that don't do surgery, but that is true. I can handle all the things that these transactional lawyers say, oh, you need to come to me and we need to, draft some 25-page document that you don't need. We can do it. And so I would always say is you need a lawyer, an accountant, an insurance agent. And I don't get into the tax stuff because tax lawyers are very expensive. So, but you really need a CPA. And so I want everybody to go to Jason Harville when it comes down to whether you should be an LLC or a corporation, but you should definitely be one of those. You got to have even more than the tax benefits or the tax ramifications. specifications, and how you hold your assets, you need to have asset protection. And you always need to do business in some sort of entity that shields you from personal liability. You also need to make sure all of your employees are under employment contracts. In those contracts, you need to make sure they have a confidentiality agreement, a non-compete, and a non-solicitation. The non-competes are sometimes hard to enforce, but most of the time people will abide by them without you having to go to court. Most of the time, if they go to work for somebody and you send that company and say, hey, this person's under non-compete, they don't need to be working for you, they'll usually tell them, hey, we'll have to hire you when this expires. But the non-solicitation clauses are very important. So you always need to have one of those, and certainly the non-disclosure agreement, confidentiality agreement. And with anybody that you send your IP, I just went through a trial on this, and one of the largest verdicts in an IP case in Shelby County history. And one of the big things was, how was my client protecting his IP? And he had some problems, but one of the good things he had was, with everybody, he sent out a non-disclosure agreement, and he sent out a licensing agreement for his software. So, and the company that pirated the software, Carrier Corporation, they just disregarded it all, and the jury hit them pretty hard. So, if you got to protect your trade secrets. Everybody thinks you got to have a copyright or a patent or a trademark, and those are some of the next three things we'll talk about. But a trade secret can be, Coca-Cola's formula is not copyrighted, patented, but they have great trade secret protection. They have a licensing agreement with suppliers. So you can protect intellectual property without even having to file. But if you file for trademark protection or copyright protection, if it's software, I know Missy was just talking about a software package. That company, I hope, has a good protection on it. I know Bruce talks about his, and I'm sure those companies have good copyright protection, because that's how you protect software. And if you want to have it in place before there's infringement, in my client's case, believe it or not, he got a $7.5 million jury verdict, but it would have been much higher if he had actually copyrighted it before they infringed. He didn't copyright it until after Carrier infringed on copyright. So we were still able to get obviously a good verdict, but it would have been much higher. The statutory damages for copyright infringement of $250,000 per infringement. So you want to be able to get those too. And then litigation protection is what I just talked about, but there are so many ways that businesses get sued. One of the biggest is discrimination, and those employment discrimination, wrongful termination. But you need to just have an employee handbook in place, and just make sure they all sign to agree to have it, and then just make sure you're, call a lawyer before you fire somebody. Is the way I always say it, unless it's just so obvious. But especially if it's a protected somebody who's a white male, you can generally fire without too many problems. Age discrimination cases are hard to win, but unless they're disabled or something, that's it. But if you have somebody who's not doing their job, but they're a minority or a female, or especially if they're pregnant, make sure you call a lawyer first. We got to cross all the T's, dot all the I's. You don't want me to get involved after the thing. One of the things I say is, I can go to court for you and do all that, but the best thing to do is let's avoid court, and I can put some things in place for you that'll protect you. Next. Oh, now one case that I wanted to talk about. Well, this is my verdict.
Yeah, this is the verdict.
Shameless. There's the $6 million for the copyright infringement, and up at the top was the $1.5 million for the breach of the licensing agreement. And I think because he had a license, and you like to see, when you're on the plaintiff's side, you like to see the jury say yes, yes. One point, that's what you like to see. So,
Let's do one.
and then one other case I wanted to talk about is, and one other reason to be an LLC versus a corporation. There's some good tax benefits now, especially, but this is a case I had, NK Spinning versus Carl Nichols. Now, poor Carl had a small LLC where he was, right when the cotton market, I don't know if y'all remember how that went, it even got the donut, got big cotton merchants, but he was a small cotton merchant, basically just bought and sold. 2 minutes, okay. And so poor Carl was supposed to supply this company in New York, NK Spinning, through his LLC. Luckily, he did everything in the name of his LLC in the contract, with some almost $400,000 worth of cotton. Well, when he went to his supplier in Houston, they said, oh, the price just rose, basically doubled. Well, and then he said, well, I'm trying to get the financing. And finally they said, oh, no, sorry, we're out of cotton, basically. So he couldn't supply NBK Spinning with their cotton. So they took it to the Liverpool arbitration, which is where you arbitrate cotton claims. They got the $400,000 verdict, but it was against his LLC. Well, I can't remember what it was called, but whatever the LLC was called. And then Silverleaf, there you go. And Silverleaf, all he ever did set up was a bank account. He didn't have a operating agreement. He never put any money in the bank account other than like $100 to open it. He never had any financial statements. Never had anything. But the one good thing poor Carl did was he formed an LLC, and number two, he hired an attorney. And so what we did was the plaintiff said, oh, the facts are so great, we're going to file a motion for summary judgment, which means basically taking all the facts and the light most favorable to the other party is true, we win as a matter of law. Well, we said, no, we're going to file that against you. We'll take the facts as true that you're talking about, but we win because, as a matter of law, because Silverleaf did everything that was required by the LLC Act. And so what they were trying to do, I should have said this, but they filed suit directly against Carl Nichols, and saying it was an alter ego, basically. He was the only member, and he was just using Silverleaf to shield himself from liability. And the court said he had a legal right to do that, and so we got summary judgment. And so Carl was let off the hook. And so NVK Spinning had, by the way, they had some really nasty New York lawyers, so it was kind of fun to see. So NVK Spinning has a judgment against Silverleaf International LLC for $400,000 that they'll never collect. And so that was a good case. But that is one good thing about LLC. Now, if you do it as a corporation, though, I think they're, especially with the new tax law, you can get some tax benefits. Although under an LLC now, you can file a return as a partnership, as a sole proprietorship, or as a corporation. So that you can have an LLC. You don't have to go through all the formalities of an LLC that you do for a corporation. So that's one of the reasons to be an LLC versus a corporation. Corporation, you do have to do all the formalities. Make sure you have regular meetings of shareholders, you have a shareholder agreement, and that kind of thing. They're not too hard. We can draft all that for you, but those are some of the reasons to be an LLC versus a corporation.
So guys, you see the benefit